What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to play for the people. If you want to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous.
Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Obama endorses Biden for president. Former President Barack Obama on Tuesday formally endorsed presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden for president. Obama said Biden, who served as his vice president during his 2 terms in the White House, quote, has all the qualities we need in a president right now, end quote. Obama vowed to hit the campaign trail soon to encourage Americans to support Biden in his challenge against President Trump in November. Quote, choosing Joe to be my vice president was one of the best decisions I ever made, end quote. Obama said, quote, and he became a close friend, end quote. Obama's backing came a day after Biden's last rival for the nomination, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, endorsed him after suspending his campaign. Biden tweeted that Obama's support, quote, means the world to Jill and me, end quote, adding that he hoped, quote, to build on the progress we've made together, end quote. This is according to USA Today. Number 2, Trump suspends U.S. funding to the World Health Organization. President Trump announced Tuesday that he was cutting off payments to the World Health Organization pending a review. Trump accused the United Nations agency of bungling the response to the coronavirus pandemic. The United States contributes more than $400 million per year to the WHO's $4.8 billion budget. Trump has accused the organization of being complicit in a cover-up of the early days of the coronavirus outbreak in late 2019 and early 2020. Quote, with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have deep concerns whether America's generosity has been put to the best use possible, end quote, Trump said during the nightly White House coronavirus briefing. Trump allegations against the WHO came as he faces increasing criticism for downplaying the coronavirus threat in the U.S. through February. This is according to Politico and the Washington Post. Number 3, New York City adds 3,700 coronavirus deaths in revised count. New York City's health department released a revised COVID-19 death count on Tuesday that included 3,700 people who were not tested but were presumed to have died from the disease. The change increased the city's total deaths to well over 10,000 and pushed up the national COVID-19 coronavirus death toll to more than 26,000. The New York Times noted. New York City has become the epicenter of the pandemic, with far more deaths per capita than in Italy, the hardest hit nation in Europe. New York City's health department has measured presumptive COVID-19 deaths since the pandemic's beginnings, and Mayor Bill de Blasio moved to release those figures over the weekend. Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, and Ohio also recently moved to start reporting presumed COVID-19 deaths. Number 4, report global economy in for worst downturn since Great Depression. The world economy is heading for its worst decline since the Great Depression in the 1930s due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, the International Monetary Fund said in a report released Tuesday. The IMF's 2020 World Economic Outlook said the global economy could shrink by 3% this year, then partially rebound in 2020 with 5.8% growth. Quote, this recovery in 2021 is only partial as the level of economic activity is projected to remain below the level we had projected for 2021 before the virus hit, end quote, said Jita Gopinath, the IMF's chief economist. The coronavirus-driven collapse could result in a total loss of $9 trillion in economic output over 2 years, a sum bigger than the German and Japanese economic production combined, Gopinath said. This is according to Reuters. Number 5, Fauci, aiming to reopen parts of economy May 1st, is overly optimistic. Anthony Fauci, the leading medical expert on the White House coronavirus task force, said Tuesday that President Trump's aim to start reopening parts of the economy on May 1st is, quote, a bit overly optimistic, end quote. Quote, we have to have something in place that is efficient and that we can rely on, and we're not there yet, end quote, Fauci told the Associated Press. Fauci said before U.S. businesses and workers can resume normal operations, public health officials have to be able to test people for the virus quickly and effectively track and isolate people who might have been infected. The comments from Fauci, head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, came as Trump clashed with governors over who would have final say on which states should lift social distancing restrictions and when. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 6, Trump backs off claim he has absolute authority to restart state economies. President Trump on Tuesday backed away from his claim that he has, quote, total, end quote, authority when states relax social distancing orders and reopen their economies. Trump said he would not oppose some states, quote, reopening, end quote, before he lifts federal restrictions on movement that are due to expire at the end of April. Hours earlier, Trump had insisted that he had absolute authority over when the governors can lift their social distancing rules and permit non-essential businesses to resume normal operations. Quote, the governors are responsible. They have to take charge, end quote, Trump said. He added, quote, the governors will be very, very respectful of the presidency, end quote. Trump's earlier claim that he had absolute authority prompted forceful pushback from Democratic and Republican governors alike. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 7, coronavirus relief could mostly benefit millionaires, nonpartisan report finds. A Tuesday report from the Joint Committee on Taxation, a nonpartisan congressional body, found that a tax provision included in the congressional coronavirus relief package by GOP senators will overwhelmingly benefit people making over $1 million per year, while costing taxpayers $90 billion in 2020 alone. The provision suspends a limitation on how much owners of, quote, pass-through, end quote, businesses can deduct against their non-business income, such as capital gains. The limitation was initially included in the 2017 Republican tax law, capping deductions at $250,000 in losses. The suspension would allow wealthy Americans to use their losses to reduce tax burdens. The JCT study found that 82% of the benefits will go to about 43,000 taxpayers who earn more than $1 million per year, while people who make less than $100,000 will receive just 3% of the benefits. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 8, Burr sold D.C. home to group led by donor. Senator Richard Burr, Republican North Carolina, sold his Washington, D.C. home in 2017 to a group led by a donor and a powerful lobbyist for more than the market price, ProPublica reported Tuesday. The group that bought the Capitol Hill townhouse was led by John Green, a lobbyist who had donated to Burr's political campaigns and had represented clients with business before Burr's committees. The property sold for $900,000, while tax assessors and the real estate website Redfin placed its value around $800,000. A Burr spokesperson said the price was, quote, directly in line with comparable properties recently sold in the area, end quote. Burr, chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, already faced scrutiny for dumping stock holdings just before the market crashed as the coronavirus pandemic hit at the United States, and after he had received an intelligence briefing on the potential impact of the outbreak. This is according to ProPublica. Number 9, German police arrest 4 alleged ISIS members plotting to attack U.S. bases. German authorities on Wednesday announced that police in the country had arrested 4 suspected Islamic State members for allegedly plotting to attack U.S. military bases. German federal prosecutors said the suspects, identified as Azerbaijan B, Muhammad Ali G, Farouz Abdel K, and Sunakala K, were charged with belonging to a terrorist organization. Their alleged leader, identified as Rabsan B, was already in jail on other unspecified charges. Prosecutors said the men, all from Tajikistan, originally planned to stage an attack in their home country, but later shifted their targets to U.S. Air Force bases in Germany. They also allegedly planned to attack a person they considered critical of Islam. Prosecutors said they had obtained weapons and ordered bomb materials. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 10, Yankees co-owner Hank Steinbrenner dies at 63. Hank Steinbrenner, part owner of the New York Yankees, died Tuesday at his Florida home after several years of poor health. He was 63. Hank Steinbrenner inherited his share of the professional baseball team along with his brother Hal after the death of their father, George, in 2010. George Steinbrenner brought the Yankees in 1973. Hank Steinbrenner was, quote, introduced to the Yankee organization at a very young age, and his love for sports and competition continued to burn brightly throughout his life, end quote, the Steinbrenner family said in a statement. In recent years, he also got involved in auto racing with his son, George Michael Steinbrenner IV. The Harding Steinbrenner racing team competed last year, with George Michael, then 22, becoming the youngest team owner ever in IndyCar racing. This is according to the New York Times. That's 10 things you need to know today for Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. Thank you for listening. This has been What Makes You Smarter. I hope everyone's doing reasonably well out there. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag WhatMakesYouFamous. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
If you like what you hear, I encourage you to follow What Makes You Smarter on social media. Find it on Facebook at What Makes You Smarter, Instagram at What Makes You Smarter, Twitter at Smarter What, and YouTube. Username Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Smarter podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Smarter podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. My personal favorite, learn with me on my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. And if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time for What Makes You Famous. Support What Makes You Smarter podcast using the PayPal, paypal.me/Keys Dan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Smarter is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for